Okay, everybody, I think it's time to get the show on the road here. I have 10:20. I know a lot of people are going to want to get out of here in a prompt and timely fashion. We do have some business to cover, a lot of information to give you folks about what's going on and what will be going on. So with that, I'd like to call the meeting to order, our fall Congregational Church meeting. Good morning. Article 8 of the Constitution and bylaws of our congregation requires that in addition to the annual corporate meeting, 2 congregational meetings of the members of the congregation shall be held each year. These meetings shall provide opportunities for communication and updates from the various ministries, project groups, committees, and leadership team with the members of the congregation. All active members of the congregation are eligible to participate. Visitors are welcome to this meeting, but are requested to refrain from direct participation. All church members who are present are requested to confirm their presence for the record by signing one of the attendance sheets that are being circulated. Is everybody signed in? According to the bylaws, 10% of the stated active membership shall constitute a quorum to transact business at a meeting of the church. The stated membership as of this date is 444.
It's actually 434.
434. So that would mean that we need 43 folks in attendance. 44. Yeah. Still 44. You should be closer to me. That's quite all right.
75.
75. Great. I would like to identify those who have agreed to serve as tellers for this meeting. They will be Jim Zajac and Rachel Stout. If any member has a question or comment, just raise your hand and the tellers will come to you. Just please remember, state your name and when you speak so that we will have an accurate record. Please use a microphone so all present can hear and so our webcast of the meeting can record these proceedings. Also, according to the bylaws, all meetings of this church shall be conducted according to Robert's Rules of Order. In order that parliamentary procedure is followed, I have appointed Bob Johnson. Bob, where are you? Yo, over there, as our parliamentarian for this meeting. I now call to order the fall congregational meeting of 2018 of the First Congregational United Church of Christ of Oconomowoc. I call upon Pastor Dave to offer our opening prayer.
Thank you, everyone, for staying for our congregational meeting. We appreciate your interest and your commitment to the life of our church. Will you bow with me for a short prayer, please? Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon our congregational meeting today. We ask that through your Holy Spirit that you would be present here among us and that you would help us to discern the Spirit's leading as we talk about the life and ministry and the future of our congregation. We pray that you would give us the eyes of Christ to perceive the needs of those around us, the hands to help, and the hearts filled with compassion. For we know that it was the love of Christ that was so important. Bless our time together. Help us to be a faithful church as we seek to do your will in our community. For it's in the name of the Christ that we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Dave. I now call upon our treasurer, Jim Natalizio.
Well, I got pretty much nothing to report. Everything is going along very nicely, according to plan. If there's one thing that is a little bit of a concern right now is that we're a little bit short on cash. If you look on the balance sheet at the top of, I guess that would be the second page, you can see that there's $320 in the checking account. So summer is usually a slower time for us on collecting our pledges. So that's a little bit of a concern right now, but usually at this time of the year, things start picking back up. So it should be okay. We may have to dip into the line of credit, maybe for a short period of time. But other than that, everything's going along very nicely. I'm sure administrative's going to get into a lot more of the projects they've been doing. They've been doing a great job of keeping everything in line. Any questions? Okay.
Wow, that was good. Now we'd like to call on Pastor Dave for the Senior Pastor's Report.
In preparing my report, I went through my calendar since our last congregational meeting, and here are just a few of the highlights of things that we have done and that I've worked on with our church. As I look through the pages of the calendar, and I'm not certain exactly how to say this, but we've had a number of griefs and a number of people that we have lost that kind of stand out in memory. I remember doing the funeral for Jean Stalker, who's a preschool teacher of our preschool, of our Hearts and Hands, and we did a service for both of her parents. Dick Protzman and Bobby that always sat there about in that second row in the center. We miss them very much. And as Christy and I celebrate our anniversary tomorrow, I know that Rich and Rochelle Bailing's anniversary is that exact same date, and we celebrated Rich's life this last week in a committal, and I know that many of us still miss him very, very much. And we extend our love and support to Rochelle, too, who's been so strong. During this time, though, we've had fun. We've gathered with kids with disabilities and special needs and opened up our churchyard in the front for a soccer league for them for 8 weeks. And I want to thank Dan Maloney, wherever he is, who's helped me with this so much. The kids really had fun. They wanted to get back together and play softball in the summer, and the parents were asking, when can we come back here? So I think we did a great job with that, and I hope it'll even grow next year for the kids so they can continue that. Godstock was a major event that we worked on. It was held just a couple weeks ago. And I want to say a special word of thanks to Patty, who worked very hard, Patty Ewald in marketing the event, and to Luke, our praise team leader, who lined up the musicians and the music for that. Last year we made $182 our first year. This year we cleared close to $2,200. It's not a fundraiser, but we also drew in visitors from the community. And it happened to land on the same day as 3 other major church events on the same afternoon. So we felt really good about that, and I want to thank everybody who helped with Godstock this year so much. We also had a first annual men's retreat, and we call this our group of Romeos. Retired old men eating out. We had a great time. We had a great time. And despite the rumors, we did not get kicked out of the bar the first night. The Brewers game was on. We wanted to watch the end of the ball game, and the pub was closing, so we had to leave. That's the honest truth. But we learned different ways of prayer. We learned about breathing prayer. We learned about walking prayer. We tried a guided imagery prayer. We had a great time at it. We had a lot of fellowship, a lot of fun. I hope this will be the first of many years to come, so please consider joining us for next year. I think everybody had a good time in that. One of the things I've been working on are 2 memorandums of understanding, I'll call them that, with the events that happen in the news, and I don't want to list all those, but from time to time there are terrific tragedies and emergencies in communities around us. And our schools and our nursing homes in the Economwalk area have been working to make plans of preparation in case that would happen. For instance, at the I think it was the middle school, or in the auditorium, there was high school. It was with carbon monoxide. And they had to have the kids leave the school. Well, our church has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the high school and with Silver Lake Intermediate School and also with Shore Haven, that if there is an emergency at any of those facilities, that the residents or the students can come here to our church and be safe and then be picked up by their parents and continue receiving care until they are able to go back to Shore Haven or until their parents are able to pick them up. And that's another way that we as a church are reaching out into our community to try to help and be supportive of other institutions here in Oconomowoc. I want to thank the committee who worked very hard. We now have a beautiful church sign out front. The landscaping's starting to grow in. It looks beautiful. The committee met many times and went through the details very carefully and closely. And we have a sign that's very beautiful. And we want to thank everyone who supported it financially and everyone who volunteered to work on the team. Could I ask if you're a member of that planning team, if you might stand that we might recognize you, please? Come on, guys. Jim and George, and come on, more than two. Dale, thank you very much. This summer, we also tried a new initiative, and it really went very well, I think. And that was to have our summer evening outdoor worship services. We held them once a month on the fourth Sunday evening of the month. We first tried out in the outdoor worship area and found that looking up in the sun was difficult. So we moved them to the pavilion area. Only one night we got hit with rain, but it worked very, very well. And I hope that's something we can think about continuing and helping to grow as we reach out to folks, to our neighbors and our community in new ways with worship and with the love of God. We've also put together a team of folks to look at our worship services to make them more engaging, more inviting. We have nice worship services, but there's always room for improvement. And we're looking specifically at the second service to see how we can make that more alive, more energetic, more inviting, engaging in that. And there's a team of folks who are working on that. Some of the things to look forward to as we look into the 2019. Carolyn Crom has been working very hard on a trip to Israel this coming May. If you're interested, please speak with her in the very near future. The cutoff date for that is November the 9th. And that we'd appreciate if you talk to her if you have interest at all in the trip. Also on Sunday, I think it's November the 11th, around there, there's a special Veterans Day play by Dale Reich that will be presented here in our sanctuary, the community. It's put on by people who live here in Oconomowoc, and it's written from folks who had experiences in the First World War, and it's part of their letters, their memories of that time and that. So please come. I believe that's at 3 o'clock on that Sunday. I remain very grateful for the opportunity to serve as your pastor. It's a joy and a delight and also a challenge that keeps me growing. As I look into 2019, it'll be a year of change and a year of celebration for our family, because not only do Christy and I celebrate 30 years together tomorrow, but our daughter Rachel will be married in March, and then our daughter Abby will be married in December of 2019, a year after this December. So we look forward to celebrating those days with you also. Fred, that's all I've got, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. I'd like now to call on Amy Drua to give us an update on youth ministry. And Ed,
All right. Good morning, everybody. I just have a few quick reports. Things have been obviously busy like usual with our youth and our youth programming, and I'm, again, just beyond honored, blessed to be in this position to watch these kids grow and to give them opportunities to grow in their faith and develop much further as well. This past weekend, we did our Craft Fest and Vendor Fair. It was another successful year. I am beyond grateful for all the amazing volunteers who came to help clean out, bake things, serve things, be cashiers, clean up. Without all of you guys, it obviously would not have been possible. As of last night, our total was about $6,500. We have a few more receipts that are going to be coming in, but it should be about a $6,000 profit that we're making for that. The committee will be getting together by the end of the month to decide to make changes, to include it with a different event, or to get rid of it altogether. Next year is our 30th anniversary, and this is my second year taking it on, and it's a lot, as you guys can all imagine, and it takes a lot of volunteers to make it happen. So the committee will come together and try to figure out what we can do for next year. My licensure. Since becoming a licensed pastor in May, it has opened many amazing doors for me and also for the congregation and for our youth. Over the last several months, I have been able to support Dave in his role as pastor to be able to take time off and not have to schedule it in certain areas. So he's able to take off the first Sunday of a month so I can conduct the sacrament of Holy Communion. And that has been an honor to be able to do that. I've also been able to officiate weddings, and this past week, him and I worked together for the committal service of Rich Bailing, which was, again, a complete honor. I am beyond blessed and extremely thankful for all of you to give this opportunity, and also to Pastor Dave. It is such an amazing experience, and I never thought that this is where God has lined me to go, so I'm very grateful. Finally, in my report, one thing, Jack Stouse worked very hard on his Eagle Scout project. And with the support of myself, Pastor Dave, and the leadership committee, we gave him the blessing to construct this. And it was amazing that he had this idea to bring something that would be fun for our youth, that they are engaging in at school and all over the community, to play this game called Gaga Ball. Where he got the idea was we were on a confirmation retreat, and they had a Gaga pit in the basement of Pilgrim Center. And those kids were like chowing their food down just so they could go and get a game in before we had to move on to the next thing. Those kids were down there. If we would have let them, they would have been there all weekend. And they had so much fun, and the team building that was happening during that game, and just the love and the support that was going on through that game with just them from our church, but also all the churches of all over Wisconsin were coming together through this game. So it was pretty cool when he came and said, hey, I want to build one for the church to see if we can have that same effect here with our church family and also the community. So there's been some questions raised of the pit, and I just want to reassure you that this game is a very safe game. If it wasn't safe, the schools would not have it on their properties. This ball is pretty soft. If you want to feel it, please come and feel it. And they have to hit it with their hand, and it cannot hit above the waist. So they have to just roll it, basically slap it on the ground, and if it touches from, the rules are, my daughter corrected me, was from the knee down. I thought it was waist down, but it's from the knee down. If it hits you from the knee down, you are out. If it hits on the waist up, that person is out. So obviously you don't want to be out, so you're going to stick to the rules and try to, roll that ball to someone from the knees down. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. Also, this Gaga pit is movable. So where it is right now is not its final destination. It is movable. We can move it inside to the basement. We can move it underneath the pavilion. Our final goal is to try to get it to be moved down towards the play set that's outside. And that's where we're hoping to have it come spring. So we'll be working with Ari Roberts to try to get that implemented by spring. So that will be moved. And Jack and the youth have offered to help mow or weed whack the inside of the Gaga pit. So that will be taken care of. Any questions that any of you guys have for me? No? Yes, okay.
Just letting you know, our kids are very excited about the Gaga pit.
Yes, they're waiting for this ball so they can go play right now while we're all in here. So we're really excited. So thank you, Kit. Any other questions? All right. While I'm up here, I'm going to go into mission ministry and education. I hope that's okay with all of you, and I'll go real quick. Mission ministry. Singing collections are all planned for the year. However, in honor of Veterans Day on November 11th and the Veterans Day play, the singing collection will be going to the Fisher House. All donations from the play will be going to the Fisher House, and I just thought, or the committee had thought that would be a great idea for our singing collection that day to go and support that amazing program as well. So we will have that announcement as it gets closer and in the bulletins. In the past, the Christmas Fund was done in July as a singing collection for the whole month of July. This year, it will be a special donation. So letters will be sent out the end of November, and the special collection will take place on December 23rd. So please watch for that letter and all of that information. Mission trips, January 6th through the 11th, we are hoping to take a group of young adults to Houston, Texas to continue the rebuilding efforts. I had received a phone call asking and basically begging me to bring a group down there because they need so much help, it's not even funny. And that broke my heart. And so I went to mission and I told them, they're like, yep, let's go. Let's try to get a group of young adults and let's go and take them down there. The summer high school mission trip will happen July 28th through August 2nd. And we will be taking a group of 20 youth and 5 adults to Pine Ridge, South Dakota. This is the poorest country in the United States. It's devastating. So we will be there working on building relationships with the community and helping them. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. One of our parishioners, they go there all the time and work with this community, and she's going to, Christina Higby is going to be coming with us. She works with this community quite a bit, so we're kind of honored that this has all fallen together. Cindy, I'm so sorry I didn't get to talk to you earlier. Family Promise?
I have an update.
Oh, cool. Do you want to do it?
Or should I just go after you? You want to just stay up there?
Sure.
Okay.
So Cindy will give Family Promise on behalf of Mission, and then I'll move into the education ministry role here. Adult opportunities. Education ministry is continuously addressing the following portions of our church: Sunday school, nursery, youth groups, reporting and curriculum support, teacher appreciation, rally day, confirmation, young adult care packages, Advent tea, VBS, Christmas pageant, adult education, and this year they will be starting, after the last service on October 28th, a book study called Seamless by Angie Smith, which covers people, places, and promises of the Bible that ties them together into the greater story of Scripture in a lighthearted setting. The dates are on the kiosk, and if you have any questions about this study, please contact any of the members from education. Katie Stevens will be conducting an Advent tea again this year that will be held on December 1st. So please watch for more information, as that will be coming out in November sometime. Our youth programs are coming together, and junior youth are going on a nature hike October 14th to Lapham Peak. Middle school youth are going to the Knock Knock Retreat at Pilgrim Center November 16th through the 18th. The high school youth are attending the comedy sports at the OAC on October 20th, and we have planned events throughout the whole entire year to engage them, and they're always allowed to bring friends and just come together as a community for fun and support for each other. The Sunday school programs are going well. We will have our Christmas pageant December 16th, so please watch for more information, as that will be coming available as well in the future. And again, we are very lucky and blessed that Rebecca Seymour will be writing and conducting that play. We also have a new idea that we will be implementing, and it's called Baking Buddies. We will be getting together this Wednesday for a planning committee where we will try to figure out what we can do to work together with children with disabilities and children who don't have disabilities, and how they can come together to teach each other how to cook and bake simple things. We're kind of excited for this program. We've got quite a few people who are coming to get this idea kicked off. That is all I have. Any questions? Yes. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yes. Thank you. Lois Jackson. I think this is part of mission, but I'm not positive.
Sure.
It might be the wrong mission. But I wanted to remind people that if they forgot to bring their neighbors in need offering today, that it's not too late to bring it next week, too.
Oh, thank you very much, Lois, for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Thank you. Anything else? We're good? All right. Great. Thanks, guys.
Cindy, were we coming back to you later? Why don't we do Family Promise as long as we just did the mission education stuff?
Can I do hearts and hands then too?
Absolutely. In the issues of brevity,
Just do it all. But you don't want to see me walking up here
you can
twice.
take my stuff and we'll be done.
Out of sheer laziness, thank you for letting me to do both at the same time. Our guests for Family Promise come next Sunday, and we still have a few spots available to fill. So please check that sign up. Need an overnight on Monday, evening hosts on Friday, and some spots on Saturday. But otherwise, we are filled, and we thank you for that. Out in Fellowship Hall, there is a cart for stuff that we're collecting for Family Promise. And the list is out there, like detergents and gift cards and stuff. So please look at that list. We would love your donations for that. And then our next host week is the week after Christmas. So start thinking about plans of maybe what we could do for our guests on New Year's Eve, because our guests will be here for New Year's, which is kind of fun this year. And I think that's it. Any questions on Family Promise? No? Thank you for your support. Our guests really appreciate that. Real quick for preschool. Preschool is going again this year. It is our 12th year working as a staff, all 4 of us. Now this is our 12th year. That's amazing, you guys. It's so much fun. And we have 33 kids in preschool, and 2 are church members. So 31 kids are coming through our doors every single week as guests of the community, and that's exciting. A little tidbit, Amy was saying she does weddings and pastoral stuff now, and one of the weddings she did, their children now attend preschool. So there's a lot of connections here, and how fascinating is that Amy could do, I think it was your first wedding too, and now their child is coming to preschool. That's pretty exciting stuff. And then last for our preschool, I don't know if you saw, not only do we have a new flashy sign out front, but we have new signs in back, and the preschool one is super, super cute. And we thank the Legacy Committee and Lois Jackson and Bill's Memorial Fund for paying for that. The sign now has our cute little logo on it, and it's no longer falling apart. So we thank you for those signs. And I think there's another sign coming, I think, Gordon said this week, that not only says office, but says office and preschool. And so we're really grateful for that. Any questions on preschool? Thank you. Thanks for letting me screw up your agenda.
Thank you, Cindy. So, leadership team has asked each ministry to come up with goals for 2018 to present to the congregation. It is our hope that every congregational member will work to support and complete these goals along with the ministry that created them. For the agenda for this meeting, we have listed each ministry with subheadings for any committee or project group under the umbrella of each ministry. We do this to better help our congregational members understand the organization of our church as directed by our Constitution and bylaws. We would hope that each ministry representative can give us an update on meeting their goals, along with an update of recent activities. As moderator, I will start with reporting for the leadership team. During 2018, we supported the efforts and recommendations of the Church Safety and Security Project Group. Those recommendations have been implemented. and the training was given to the head ushers earlier in the year, so we're all set on that one. A task force was finalized this year under the direction of Rochelle, and they formulated guidelines to be used on any new fundraisers. We will be supporting and have supported the effort to strengthen the adult Christian education ministry, and we supported the development of a youth soccer league for youth with disabilities. The leadership team has responsibility for seeing and managing the whole picture of the church. As many of you know, we have redefined the office staff and tech director positions since our spring congregational meeting. Let me start with our office staff and our vision for this position. The way that our world communicates today is much different than it has been in the past. Instead of the post office, most communication is now handled through emails and texts. Facebook is now a big way for folks to keep in touch. Web pages are another way in which people stay in touch and are kept up to date. We now utilize all these methods in our church and rely on outside volunteers to manage these for us. Our Facebook page is being kept as current as possible by a college student. Our website is being maintained by Patty Ewald. What we want to accomplish is to have our office serve as the hub for these technologies, and also to handle the sign changes on Concord Road. The position could also be the source for our visual creation, the stuff you see up on the screens. We are moving toward having one office person handle these jobs, plus any other tasks designated by Pastor Dave. To that end, we have met with Joe and Grace and advised them of our plans. In our discussion with Betty Jo, she stated that she was planning to retire in June of 2019. It is our intention to have Joe stay on until June to help with the transition, although this might be with reduced hours. The job description has been or is being finalized right now, but the search has not yet started. We're hoping to have a new person in place sometime in the beginning of 2019. As far as salaries, it is our belief that we will be able to find someone for less than we are paying now in salaries and benefits. The salaries we're now paying for both positions are a little bit over $52,000. I think it's $52,097. And we feel that we can get one person to do that for probably a fair amount less than that. We would like to have a celebration for Joe and Grace prior to their leaving, but we don't know quite when that's going to be. So it's kind of a flux and flow situation now, but we're working to solidify the future. Cindy Waldman has served as our bookkeeper for about a year, and she has or will be meeting shortly with Pastor Dave for a review, but she has indicated that she needs a few more hours in order to handle all of the bookkeeping functions. I would think that once that's presented to leadership, that we would agree to do that, but it will be a pretty minor expenditure. It's not going to require much additional funding at all. We've also changed the responsibilities of Carl Kay. He has been wearing 4 hats, that being choir director, organist, tech coordinator, and bell choir director. The transition time crunch between first and second service with a setup of the praise band has proved to be very hectic, and it has been difficult for Carl to work the sound for AV, also be up, setting up the choir and working and getting people off and on. It's just way too much, and it's been tough through no fault of his. We met with Carl at the beginning of June and told him that we needed to make the change to a dedicated person by Rally Day, which we have done. He was in agreement with this, and we approached Tom Stone about coordinating tech on a temporary basis until we complete a search and have someone in place. Tom has graciously agreed to help us until the hiring process is complete. Tom is donating his time at no cost to our church, but he did ask that I be able to spend a couple $100 in that transition to do some backup stuff like hard drive backup. I think that's great. We also plan to keep the budget the same or about the same when we get into the hiring of the new tech coordinator. So that it's not going out of the budget. The monies that were in this year, there may be a slight increase, but our hope is to have someone on a full-time basis as we move forward in that hiring process. Again, job description will be pretty much the same that it has been. The hiring process will start very soon, trying to find someone. And a team is being formed to do that under Pastor Dave's direction. One thing to note is that since Carl doesn't have responsibility for tech anymore, don't come to him if something's wrong. It's just not fair. Don't be emailing him and say the sound's too loud or we don't like the spelling up there or something like that. That's not his baby. Okay? Susan Pershawn serves on spirituality and will continue to ask volunteers to serve on visuals, creating, and sound. A job description is in the process, as I mentioned, of being written, but it needs to be approved by various committees. Our fundraising project group has finalized and implemented procedures for future fundraising groups that I mentioned before. We had a leadership fair here, and I was out of town, but I believe it was the 23rd. And the purpose of that is to just have every ministry available, set up on the sides of the church if you've got questions, but also explain what they do and hopefully have folks willing to step forward and say, you know, I could do that, or I'd love to help out, because that's what makes our church strong going forward, is to have as many people as we can volunteer and step up. Under the leadership, under the umbrella of leadership is nominating committee. I know that nominating committee has now met and is starting to work towards filling positions for next year. They've come to me and said, would you do it? And I said, okay, if it's okay with you folks. So, but I know they've asked some other folks too, so that's great. And please fully consider stepping up when you're asked. What else we got here? So also under the leadership team are Pastoral Relations and Staff Support Committee, the Personnel Committee, and the Long Range Planning Committee. Is there any questions at all from anyone out there about what we've talked about so far, what leadership has done?
Hi, this is Pat Pierce. With the new person that you hope to hire for doing the Facebook and everything, is that going to be an actual salaried employee, or are we going to get somebody that's going to be freelance where we don't have to pay all the benefits?
I would anticipate that it would be a salaried employee. Basically, what we're looking to do is have one person in the office, okay, that's got a lot of tech skills, that can also do anything that Dave needs done on a daily basis, that the church needs done, but it would also include, you know, the Facebook, the website, you know, those kinds of things.
Okay.
You mentioned, is it on?
Nope.
No? Yes.
Now it is.
You mentioned Susan Pershawn and looking for volunteers to do the creative and operation during services.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any possibility that this new person, technical person, can do the creative because it takes so many skills?
Absolutely. That would, I think, be one of the things we would hope to have that person do.
And so Susan's job on our ministry would be altered a bit, hopefully.
It would?
Yeah.
Okay.
We wouldn't be looking for volunteers to do that creative stuff.
Correct.
Because it's intimidating for
Yep.
those of us
Yep.
who are
Okay.
not
You're
computer
absolutely right.
And at least
time that Susan spends would be drastically reduced.
Well, it's more the skill thing that I'm thinking of, and it's getting people to volunteer, which we have trouble doing. Okay. Thank you.
I'm Lynn Zwaska. I wanted to take an opportunity first to thank the many leaders of our church for what they do, because many times it's an extremely unsung appreciation. I want to comment on the email that we all received 3 or 4 weeks ago from our leadership. I was thrilled to get it because I was appreciating the communication and the update that I anticipated. However, it left me with a whole lot more questions than it did answers. I would like to state that I do believe that our church is a business. However, we have a very decided difference from most businesses. Our revenue relies on donations and contributions. Our human resources are, the majority, volunteers. And I think the best way that we can reinforce the appreciation for those donations and those volunteers is to provide them, us, thorough information, timely information, and accurate information. I'm concerned about learning today that in June, we made a change with Carl Kay's position. I was surprised to read about many other changes that have taken place in the last few months, of which we were not aware. I should say some of us were not aware, but it was feeding the fodder of parking lot conversation. And I appreciate very much this forum, and I hope people that are taking advantage of parking lot conversation will share their thoughts and concerns here constructively rather than the parking lot conversations, because the only way that people will know what we're thinking and feeling is by sharing it appropriately. And that's what I hope that I've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Trudy's got something here.
Trudy Muris, I'm just wondering if the jobs of printing bulletins and things of that sort that have been carried out very effectively by Grace, and will that fall under the technical person in the office? Who's going to be doing some of those things that need to be done?
The job will be more than technical. Okay, the job will be handling the day-to-day needs of the church under the direction of our senior pastor. So, bulletins, assuming we have bulletins going forward, and I would anticipate we would, will still happen. It would just be at some point under a new person. We don't know exactly that date. So, yeah, it'll come out of the church office staff.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? Okay, if not, then we'll move on to some other ministry reports. Okay, thank you. I now call upon Joe Leinen for administrative.
Good morning. From an administrative group, I think we completed all our goals to date. A lot of those have been the LED lights in the sanctuary. We bought a new lawnmower this year. We actually bought a new fridge unexpectedly, but that's in the back. Many building repairs have occurred during the year so far to date. The new sign is now paid for the most part. We still have some landscaping out there yet to do, so that'll still come out of the general maintenance budget. So those are probably pretty much the completed items. We still have to do a budget committee this year for next year's budget. We'll be talking about a lot of the things that need to still happen in the church. As you can tell, there's a lot of woodpecker holes that need to be addressed yet this year and into next. So that'll be, we'll have to increase the budget in order to take care of some of that stuff if we can't get volunteers. Some of the things that need to come up is also the window sills downstairs. There's some that are starting to rot out with the old windows. We have to fix those, replace them, so that'll have to be on the horizon. Still have to do parking lot repairs to some degree, resurfacing or at some point. We did create a capital improvement budget this year, so hopefully we can grow that fund to help pay for these HVACs, roofing, things that are going to come up in the next 5 to 7 years. That's pretty much it, unless there's questions or concerns.
Lois Jackson. I have a deep concern. When we come here for choir on Wednesday nights, the parking lot is so black and dark that you can't see anything. For us to be able to get Teresa in and out of the car, we have to turn another car with the headlights on shining in the door so Teresa can even get in the car. I don't know what it's like every other night for when different committees meet, but I know on Wednesday night it is really bad. And I hope that we can come to some resolution about the lights downstairs.
I can definitely look into that. I know when I looked last night, because somebody had concerned the same thing, as it was on, so I didn't.
Jim fixed it yesterday, so we're good.
Okay.
It changed, all that needed to be done was the timers needed to be changed, so Jim Zajac had fixed it, all of that. Fixed that all yesterday, so thank you though.
Every couple of weeks we have to reset those timers, and as it gets darker earlier, we do change them. They were just changed this past week.
But if there's something helping with lights, just put a note in the office or email me. I'm in the directory, so I know we did fix the one down at the road, so that does help with the sign, just so you can drive in. So that's been a year-long tobacco. Yes, Jim.
Jim Zajac. I just wanted to remind people there's instructions in the pavilion for raising and lowering the curtains. We just replaced 1,800 feet of rope. So if you're working out there in the curtains, the instructions are posted next to the fuse box and a couple of other places.
And thanks, Jim, for replacing all those, and whoever helped you. I know that took a lot of time.
I have a question, Jim. Do you want to keep those sides down, or do we want to have them up? That was a question yesterday.
We want them up.
Okay.
Normally, one person can do the front and back. It takes two people to do the sides nearest the garage and the opposite end. You need two people on each of those.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Under the umbrella of the administrative ministry is the budget committee, the landscaping committee, and the various fundraising projects such as Craft Fest, rummage sale, and golf outing. Do any of these groups wish to report at this time? Okay. Oh, we do have one.
I can do it here. I'm going to do like Sunday and do double duty here. So from landscaping and legacy committee, continuing on the sign thing, when they did the new sign, this spring they also did a new sign by the Memorial Garden. But meanwhile, when they were working on a new sign, we redid all the signs on the church property. Painted all the posts, got them all straightened out, replaced some of them. Cindy mentioned the hearts and hands, but the old Amen sign, we matched the one by the road, we modernized that. But that's all thanks to Lois Jackson and in memorial in the legacy of Bill. And she was very generous to help us with that. So we're almost complete. The other thing about the refrigerator going out, there was somebody that had been there for a while, and I forget who donated that.
Juanita Decker, I believe.
Okay, about a year or two ago that paid a good amount of the refrigerator, but then the Bonnie Lagerman's family, in memory of Betty Bachman, had about $1,000 donated memorial funds, and they contributed that to the refrigerator, which is really generous, but we want to also thank all the people in the congregation that helped that out. And then as far as, so Bill Jackson with the signs, and they also did the 2 round tables in the sanctuary. And so that's the update.
Thank you, Gordon. Legacy Committee has done a great job in getting stuff finalized and being able to make decisions on the monies instead of them just sitting there for years and years and years and kind of lost in this big hole. So that's much appreciated. Any other comments, questions? Cindy?
Cindy Meckel. Oh gosh, that's loud. Just a kudos to Gordon. Gordon is here every single week working with high schoolers and working on his own. And I take the preschoolers like hiking around our property. I can't tell you guys how beautiful it is. And a lot of it is thanks to Gordon and all his work. So thank you, Gordon.
Trudy?
Just while we're saying thanks, the
Hold it.
lawn looks wonderful.
It's wonder.
I just think our lawn is beautiful, and it takes a great deal of time and energy to mow it on a regular basis. I don't know all of the people, but I do know that Cheryl and Mike Huff do a large amount of it. And whoever else does that, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Trudy. Yep. I'd like to now call on Ann Stoltz to present the Spirituality Ministry Report.
You sure? It'll be what it'll be. I was going to pass out some papers so that you could put your name and phone number on it and make some decisions, but I've decided not to do that in the space of time I'm allotted. I asked for half an hour and I got told I couldn't do that. Refrigeration. Somebody knows about the refrigerator that is behind this wall, which is for communion stuff, juice and bread and whatever. Somebody put a large bag of ice in the freezer, and it caused the refrigerator to shut off this week. And so all the bread that we had in there is not frozen. I took the ice out this morning, and it appears to be working okay now. I'll check it again early this week. But I think when you use something that's set aside for a specific purpose, before you toss something like a big bag of ice in it, you better check and see if that's okay. Because we have to keep fresh grape juice when Dave is called out to do communion during the week. And we had to throw out 2 bottles of grape juice because, I mean, it's a minor thing, but just be aware that when you're using something, let somebody know. Spirituality's primary responsibility is to facilitate the worship life of this congregation, to support the pastor, included in their duties, and to advise him of problems that have come to our knowledge. The jobs that we are included in all have to do with how our worship services operate. I'm going to start with the last one alphabetically, which is ushers. We have a wonderful guy who takes care of our ushers. He really does a remarkable job. He seems to be unflappable. It must be his military history, because he just takes care of things when they happen. We're looking for more volunteers to help with ushering. What it involves in, you've all handled. You've all handed out something somewhere, a brochure at some time, and you've also passed dinners or plates at Thanksgiving dinner. And there's no problem doing it for dinner. It's the same with picking up the offering. Handing out bulletins at the beginning of the service with a smile on your face and greeting people. I don't know how many of you look around on a Sunday morning, but there aren't many smiles in this place. And we need some. And that's where it starts, is when people come in the door. We also have a welcomer at the desk, and we have people at the front door. Usually the front door people are pretty warm and welcoming, but we need it once we get into this space too. And if you just look around at the folks who are here, look at the faces. I bet there are some people in this room that you haven't said hello to in 6 months. We're a congregation joined by faith. We have a common goal. Some of it's personal, some of it's sharing. But a smile on your face and a happy hello doesn't mean you have to introduce yourself in half an hour congregation, but it does change the atmosphere in here. Tech support. We've already discussed tech support, so I can leave that out. Liturgists. How many of you have ever read a book to your children or your grandchildren? That's about 50% of us. Being up here and reading what is all printed out for you is not any different than reading a book to your grandchild or to your child. The words are much easier. Well, that's Dave's fault. He should be reading those scriptures that have names that are 15 characters long. But we all understand when you look at a name like this morning's Himalamalab or whatever it was, that you're having as much trouble as we have. And we're forgiving for those kind of things. But we're having great difficulty getting people to be liturgists and to be consistent. You can do either service. It's not difficult. And we will smile at you. So if you would like to volunteer, you can put your name here and your phone number and on a piece of paper, and we'll give it to the person who takes care of liturgists. Flowers have also been a problem. On the back kiosk is a list with a calendar date on it for flowers. We have approximately 52 Sundays in a year. 12 of those we don't need flowers for because it's first Sunday of the month in communion. December, we don't need any flowers because we have poinsettias all over the place. Easter, we don't need flowers because we've got, my goodness, so many blooms here, it makes our noses itch. But we do have all those other Sundays, so it's something like 36, 37. Could you please look at the calendar? Perhaps it's your child's birthday, your wedding anniversary, your parents' birthday, whatever, and take one of those Sundays. It doesn't have to be a $40 spray of flowers. It can be a bouquet from Aldi's. Those are less than $5. I think you can get them about the same price at the other grocery stores in town, and just put it in a vase and bring it. But be sure to take it home. We have many people who forget to take them home. Now, Judy Schuyler is currently the person who handles reminding people that it's your Sunday. She has been having a problem with that, and she suggested establishing a fund that would be taken care of in the office for Sundays when we don't have someone volunteer. But I would think that with the number of people we have, we could take care of it without setting up a fund. So think about it and take a look at that list. Communion. You saw these people up here today volunteering. We'd like to have more people volunteer so that we could have groups that rotate. And every month we wouldn't have to call. You know, if we had the same set of 6, take care of maybe October, November, and December, and split it into quarters, or maybe do it every 3rd month or 4th month. It would really make our job a lot easier, and we wouldn't have to be waking you up at 9 o'clock at night and saying, hey, could you fill in? We saw you had just had somebody cancel. Last thing, candles. The candles on the altar area are a reminder that God lives within this sanctuary, that it is a sanctuary where that person who is down and out can find some place of solitude, where that person who is dealing with grief can be in a quiet place and deal with that grief, where the person that is happy can celebrate all the blessings that we've received. We have trouble getting liturgists. Second service isn't so difficult because Tim can always grab a kid to do it. But first service, there's nothing to lighting a candle and blowing it out. You do it on your birthday, don't you? So we'd like you to volunteer. so that we can make things run a little more smoothly. Now, the reason some of you stayed. We did a survey. Some of you were surprised. You didn't know that we were looking at this. We have had problems between services getting people out of the sanctuary and so that praise band can set up. It has to do with technical issues, and that sometimes on a Sunday you have heard people complain about how loud the music is. And then there are other Sundays when I couldn't hear. Well, where are you sitting? The last row in the pews. You need to think about where you sit when you come into the sanctuary, because from one side to the other, the sound is not the same. From the front to the back, the sound is not the same. Don't come running to somebody and complain about it. Unfortunately, the choir complains about heat because it's about 4 degrees too much. But there isn't anybody who can change the heat on a Sunday morning. Don't know about that, but we need it a little cooler. I don't know about the front row. Is it hot down there? All right, now on to the survey. We had 90, I can't see, lost my numbers, 90 some replies. That's about 25% of our numbers. The replies came up with some results. I am not really happy with the results that we got, but the favorite was moving first service back to 8 o'clock in the morning. My problem with that is I sing in the choir, I help prepare communion. If we have an 8 o'clock service, I have to be in this building by 7:15. That means I have to be up at 6 o'clock. The person who opens up the church has to be there by 7:15 to let me in. That isn't always the pastor, and he shouldn't have to. He doesn't need to be here. There are other people who do need to come in or want to come in and don't understand why they can't get in the door. The second choice that got a lot of selections was the 8:15, 10:15 thing. But by practice, it's been by a majority of churches that services start on the hour or the half hour. I don't know why 15 minutes, but anyway. I'm going to turn over the results of the survey to leadership because they have to make a decision on it with our recommendation. Our recommendation is to go with the 8 and 10 because that was the majority of the people who responded on the survey. However, as I just said, it was only 25% of our congregation. It isn't a true representative of how you feel. If you can come up with a brilliant idea, after all, there are, what, 75 of us, or there were 75 of us here today? Somebody can come up with a better idea than the 6 of us on spirituality. There's got to be a way we can solve the problem and put a little more space between the 2 services so that the praise band can get their equipment moved. I don't want to hear those things today because I've been up since 4:30. Talking to you, I don't think you heard me, but I've been talking to you every night since Tuesday. I'm going home to take a nap. The Brewers can wait. The Packers can wait. I've shortened it up. Let's see. Oh, the reason we come to church is for praise and worship. Correct? And renewal. We are told that we should live justly, to have mercy, and to walk humbly before our Lord. We all have ideas of things, but the amazing part of this survey was the comments. People who said, if it isn't my way, I'm going elsewhere. If it isn't my way, that's too bad. And then the last one we got was, you'll never get people to agree, so good luck. puts a smile on my face and would like some good luck. But think about what this survey asked of you and see if you can come up with something to help us, because I'm sure leadership's going to want some help.
Fred?
It's yours.
Fred, I do have a comment. Susan Pershon. Am
Yes.
I here?
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Okay. Just a little follow-up on Ann. I don't have a lot of problems with liturgists for the 10 a.m. service. That is almost filled up immediately when I put up an opening. It's the 8:30 service where I'm having difficulty finding people. And as far as the tech goes, until we get that person for Sunday mornings in position, I desperately need volunteers. I have 2 people that do sound on a regular basis, and I have maybe 3 to 4 people that will run visuals on a regular basis. And it's, you know, it's putting a lot on these people because they don't get paid to do this. And I would absolutely love for more people to step up and be willing to do this. That's just my only comments.
How difficult is it to learn how to do, say, the sound?
It's very easy. It's not hard at all. It's not hard.
No?
We can teach you in an hour, 2 hours.
You could teach me in an hour? Praise the Lord.
You just volunteered.
Oh, goodness. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
I'm going to give the report on behalf of the Stewardship Committee. I'm sorry.
Hi, Pat Pierce. To pick up on what Ann said about, greeting somebody and having a smile, is that just going to take this outside of the sanctuary. And I think it would be great if we kind of didn't always sit at the same table, to get to know other people. I've noticed some people sit at tables who are members and nobody's sitting with them. And I think it would be nice just to sit down for a couple of minutes, whatever, say hi, and then you can move on to another table, if you want. So that's what I have to say about that. The other is about the survey. Are we going to be getting, other than verbally what Ann has told us, some of what the results were, so many people for this, and more of the comments? I'm sure there were some negative ones, but hopefully there were some positive ones too. If we could, get some of that information, and going along with Lynn said, keep the communication going so we all know, what it is that you're having to look at.
Not sure. Is that something that we feel we want to share, the entire survey and the comments with the congregation? If you want, I certainly don't have a problem.
Can we do that? Put it in the branches?
What I had printed off for you, Ann, I am able to run a whole report and no names are on there, so it is completely anonymous, and we can publish that. Let it be through an email to all of you, let it be printed off here or branches. You guys tell me how you want it and I can make that happen.
George Moore, when that survey was given out to us, am I right in remembering that it said that we intend to abide by the majority of folks who submit their ideas, that we're going to abide by that majority? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
And
that was the intention.
That's the intention.
I also just heard the comment made about the fact that it was sad that there was only a 25% response. I find that very interesting because of the importance of that question, the why only 25% of our members felt important enough to respond to, but that's what happened. So we got to go with the numbers we got. I wish there were more, but we can't fix that.
Any other comments?
I have one more. I can do it from here. We also are recommending that if we go to make a change, we discussed in spirituality this week that if we go ahead and make a change of any kind, that it will be temporary from January to Easter. And then assess again and see if it solves the problem. Perhaps we'll come up with another solution which we can, make a difference. But first we'll turn it over to leadership, and leadership can deal with it. As I said, if you have any comments, write them down, drop them in, send them in, put them in my spirituality or in the mailbox for spirituality, or give them to Fred, and they'll get to the right person.
Lois?
Lois Jackson. I don't know if people know or realize that we used to always have our service at 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. We changed it to 8:30, thinking that people would stay after first service and be in fellowship hall, and people coming to the 10 o'clock service would come early to have fellowship with them in between the services. That's why it was changed to 8:30 to begin with. So, that's just something to think about. That didn't work out, but it was a trial. But as Ann said, you try something for a while, and then you reevaluate it again, too. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Anyone else?
Carolyn Crom, I was just going to say, why don't they send that survey out again? The summer is never a good time to put anything out because people are too busy to read much of anything. So just a thought.
All right.
I think that we...
And what's your name, young lady?
Valerie Jane.
Hey, last name would be?
Williams.
Hey.
Okay. I think we maybe need a sermon on it's my way or the highway. I think we all need an adjustment of our attitudes. If we gotta always do everything the same way, we've got to open up our minds and stop being so closed-minded. So.
Oh. Thank you, Valerie Jane Williams.
Since we're on a roll here with comments, Kit Daly.
Yes.
I had two comments. One is that I deal with a lot of surveys in my professional work, and actually 25% is a very good response rate. I know it sounds terrible, and when you put it in the perspective of 90 people, that is disheartening, but 25% statistically is a good response rate for a survey. Second of all, I also echo the comment about the survey coming out in the summer, because I did not take the survey, and I certainly would have. So I apologize for that. I would love the opportunity to still give some feedback, and I wasn't even sure what questions you were responding to when you were talking about the results. So it took me a while to catch up to the idea of we might change the service time. So I'm happy to participate or support that in some way. And final third, I don't know if anyone's thought about some of our high school youth being involved with the sound, or if that's been concerned as maybe not reliable. But they are way more technically savvy than most of us.
Oh, they sure are.
Susan Pershon, I just want to respond to the timing of the survey. This survey was sent out right after Rally Day, and it was sent out via email. So it was not something done in the summer when our participation is low. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
This was the second survey we've done.
Correct. The summer survey was only sent to the early service. The second survey was sent to both services because we didn't feel it was fair to just survey the first service and base a change off just what they wanted and not what the entire congregation wanted.
Trudy, up front again.
I just want to know if the people who wanted it at 8 o'clock, they're usually the older people. I come with my husband at that 8:30 service, and there's no way I am going to get him to an 8 o'clock service. And that's his favorite service. So I think there are a lot of people who are older at that early service. Are you telling me that they all want this at 8 o'clock?
No, first service people did not want it.
Then I think we need to rethink this.
think it might be coming back to leadership. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, we got one more?
Sue Ellen Shellpepper. I come periodically. My concern is that I think that if we think outside the box, maybe the first service could be shortened to 45 minutes.
Thank you. Way over on the right.
Sandra Hogan. I know this church is looking for new members and to grow, but I want to say something about people who are not attending our church. For one thing, I know several people that work during the week, and when they want to get up on a weekend, they're so tired that they want to stay in their jammies. I mean, I don't see a lot of people in some of these churches having high attendance at early services. In fact, I see one church that is expanding that has one service at 10 o'clock, and some churches I know either have a 4:30 or 5 o'clock on a Saturday, because these people work so hard during the week, they can't get ready for an early service. Thank you.
Oh, we have another one.
Marty Wiley. Ooh, hello there. Yeah, my feeling or my understanding that the need for change was because of needing to have more time in the middle for praise band to be able to set up. And we have a wonderful praise band director who does not make a lot of money doing it. And I just don't, you think in terms of what you need, and I understand what Trudy is saying, but we also don't want to make a need disable the ability to have something very good for our church, and that's having someone like Luke that can coordinate our praise band. And there's a group of people that need to have that necessary change for different reasons than we look at too. So I don't know that there is a solution that makes it good for, there is not a solution that's going to make it good for everybody. We just have to pray on it.
Any other comments? Okay. If not, we're going to move along. I'm going to report for Stewardship Committee. They sent me a report, so I'm going to read it verbatim. The Stewardship Ministry consists of Chair Bonnie Lagerman, members Tom Stone and Sue Maloney, and Administrative Liaison Michael Higbee are leading the congregation in the journey of discovery and commitment and what it means to be the church. Events leading up to Stewardship Sunday on November 11th include bulletin inserts from the ministry on October 14th and a message from Tom Stone. Also watch for bulletin inserts from the children and the high schoolers on October 21 and November 4. Amy Drua provided directions today, whenever she wrote this, during the all Sunday school session. We look forward to a high school testimony on November 4th. A mailing at the end of October explaining expanded opportunities to make it easier for church members to give of their time, talent, and treasures. These will include use of an online survey for indicating interest in giving of one's time and talent. This is an option in place of the traditional card, but the card will also be available. Information on the use of autopay for making pledges, financial promises, as well as the use of text giving. There will be increased effort on the part of the ministry to help the office, where'd you go here? Follow up with those who have an interest in giving of their time and talent. The ministry asks each member to reflect upon what it means to be the church and to give of their time, talent, and treasures accordingly, and to live life as it is displayed on the new banner. We're getting there. Is there anyone to report for welcoming ministry?
Suze Jack, Peg McCullum couldn't be here today, so the welcoming committee has been busy. The welcoming committee has been busy. Most recently, we've hosted the church picnic, had a booth 2 Saturdays at the farmers market, and worked at God's Dog. Our next big project is to decorate the church for Advent and Christmas. We will need lots of help this year with this, as we are going to be doing it after a church service on November 25th. Our goal is to continue our outreach towards welcoming current and potential new members. Any questions? Thank you.
Yay. Thank you for everyone serving on a ministry, committee, project group, or is serving our church in any other capacity. Are there any reports that anyone we've missed? Is there anything from, Memorial Garden? George, do we need to say anything?
Thing on?
Sounds of silence.
Yeah, I guess it's on. Things looking, I don't know if anyone's traveled out there recently. Of course, it's been awfully wet and rainy, but I think our garden looks as good as it's ever looked since it began construction many years ago. We've finished building our 3rd wall, so now we have a lot more spaces to sell. So take a look. I think you'll like what you see. Thanks. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, George. We now move into a time where we have the opportunity to hear congregational feedback, insights, and/or concerns. One of the goals that the leadership team has discussed is an attempt to increase appropriate communication with all church members. Please remember to always state your name when you speak, so we will have an accurate record. Please use the microphone so all present can hear, and so our webcast of the meeting can record these proceedings. Does anyone wish to speak on anything of concern to the congregation? Pastor Dave.
I have one concern. Jim Sajak handed me a pair of, I believe, reading glasses that were left by the name tags on the counter and that. If they're yours, you can see me afterward.
Or, yeah, or not. Thank you. Any other comments, concerns that you want to express?
Amy Hayes. I'm just wondering, there was a while back, a couple years ago, where all ministry minutes were sent to all members of the congregation. And I'm wondering if we did that again, if it would increase our communication of what's going on in our church.
Okay, I thought they were still being done.
No, they're only sent to members who are serving on a ministry. It doesn't go to the entire congregation.
Okay.
That's something leadership could discuss.
Okay, we'll put it on the agenda on October 16th and bring it up. Thank you, Amy. Anyone else?
Marty Wiley. My concern is I understand the need to make some changes administratively in hopes of improving the membership of church and getting word out there, but I think I have a bigger concern in the growth of our church. It's just not happening, and I don't think putting someone in those positions is enough of a change to accomplish what we want to do as a church to grow. So my concern is, what else can we do more importantly?
Pastor Dave had relayed something, and I'm sure I won't have the numbers right. And I don't know if it was he and I having a conversation or it was part of leadership. But basically the gist of his point was we do a real good job when we get somebody in the building. That we're very welcoming and people come back and they do tend to join. The hit rate is pretty high. Our issue is getting people here, okay? And again, I'm going to say that off the top of my head, Pastor Dave, in his study, said it's something like 10% of the population.
It's 10% of your attendance, and so we average 180 throughout the year. So we should be having 18 visitors per Sunday if we're a growing church. This summer, over the last 3 months, we've had 2 separate visitors. So we're not inviting people to get them inside the church. If you want the church to grow, the best thing you can do is invite and bring somebody with you. And that's what it comes down to as far as what we need as a congregation.
Do you think the sign will help?
I hope so, yes.
Thank you.
Lois Jackson. I'm on Welcoming Committee, and I will say that we are now exploring communicating with people who have just moved into the community. We're getting help from, it's Welcoming, I'm trying to think of the name, I can't even, Welcome Wagon, Mary Kay Sokoff. And every month she gives a copy of the information they get for people who have moved into the community. And we're exploring a way of trying to send out communications to those people to let them know about our church. And I know she came to visit me. I've been there for over a year, but she's a good friend of mine, and she just came about a month or so ago. And the information that she took back, I did get communications from several other churches in the community. So I think that that's a good way that we can reach some of these new people who are moving in. So Welcoming is definitely working on that.
And to add on to that, Lois, she comes every month and collects our branches and takes that and distributes that to all people who are moving into the Oconomowoc community. So that is one way that our church name is getting out to the individuals. So.
Dale Vercotteren. Being a new member, if I remember right, when we first moved into some of the areas that we previously lived in, and we were involved with Welcome Wagon, they used to give out a basket or something to say, is there anything that our church could put in that basket to say, hey,
The branches that goes in there.
it goes what?
The branches go in that.
Okay.
But we could look into more opportunities with other things.
Thank you.
Cheryl Hoff. One thought we were reading through the Enterprise the other day and noticed that so many churches have this complimentary ad in there. I believe it's complimentary, but we don't have anything in there. Is there a reason?
It's not complimentary. It is.
They're not complimentary, and advertised in the newspaper, according to statistics, is the least, you get the least response as far as people coming to church from that. That the things like the yellow pages of the newspaper really don't pay for the cost of the ad.
And Rebecca Seymour is really good at getting any church events into the paper for us, and she does it on there's certain areas in the paper that she can advertise them for free. So we try to utilize that as much as possible.
Valerie Jane Williams again. When I first moved to town here, we had somebody from the church came, I think it was Barb Moeller, and she had a little tin of banana bread or some kind of bread, and it was really, really nice. And she told me all about the church and was so welcoming. And I really thought that was a great way to get us hooked. What?
Valerie Jane, that bread was something we did for years, and we can't do it anymore due to health reasons. They will not allow us to bring something like that into a home. I'm sorry, but that I couldn't believe it when we had to stop it.
That was a way to get foot in the door and that was a way for Barb to get her foot in the door and to talk to me and tell me about the things that were going on in the church. And then I was hooked. You know, so maybe we don't have to do bread. Maybe it was something else. Good idea. Thank you.
Joan Robbins. This thing is so loud. My mom was a welcome wagon hostess for about 20 years. So I know what a welcome wagon hostess does. And this is important. This is where you get that personal touch. And if the gal is good, she'll hand you out something that will make you want to come. Now, I know we do the branches, but is there something that she can give that you don't have to read through and pour over, that some type of a meaningful thing from our church? I mean, it's just something to think about. And also the personal touch. Cheryl and Mike Hoff got John and Joan Robbins in this church. Come and try us. And John isn't here anymore, but we've been here since 1988. So it worked. And I think that's important, is ask your friends, people that you are just meeting, whether it be in a store or, I mean, I know that sounds kind of, you know, hey, would you like to come to our church, to a stranger? But hey, you never know what may work.
Thank you. Up front here.
I can talk loud. How do we know who a visitor is? I mean, you put the little star on their name tag and you don't run around here looking for a star. Why don't we have them stand up and raise their hand or something so we can meet them out here and have coffee with them? I don't know who's a visitor or not unless somebody stands up and says hi.
I just ask them if they, I don't, all I do is when somebody is at a table and I don't know who they are, I figure they might be new, and I just ask them who they are, or are they a visitor, and then start talking to them. That's all.
Oh, that's perfect. I think that's exactly it. I know one thing like Dave had taught me was you just go up and say, oh, I don't think I've met you before. And that's your way in of saying, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And then you can find out if they're a visitor or a member you've never met. So it's beautiful in its all way.
I'll make this real quick because I know it's getting towards kickoff. I just want to say, as an usher once a month, one thing, of course, it helps to have Bill Johnson be your usher chief at that time. But he makes a good point of saying to all of us who are ushering with him, that person's new. We've never seen that person before. Make sure you talk to them when they come out. Personal touch.
Yeah, just one thing, Pat Pierce, on this, is that that's real important when somebody comes in. I agree 100% on that. But if we're getting back to people coming in the church isn't how we're getting our visitors. Okay, it's getting them to come in, not that they're already here. Right. So thinking it from a marketing perspective, if we have a welcome lady wagon person, wagon is maybe somebody from our church needs to take that person out to lunch. Okay, so they kind of know a little bit more about our church, so maybe when they're giving that basket, you know, they have something nice to say, you know, about us. Or you said as your mom, if there was something she really, you know, wasn't, you know, liked about it, she would mention that to the new family.
And of course you have to realize a welcome wagon is a business too, and the sponsors pay the salary of that welcome wagon person too. But anyway, that's a good idea.
Anything else?
I just wanted to give credit to Jim Zajac, because whenever Jim sees somebody new who has come in, he will come over to people and say, there's a visitor here, and he points them out to you. So then you can go and talk to them. So Jim does a great job of that.
And so does Fred. Yeah. Yes, all of you guys do. So, yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing none. Unless anyone has any additional items to discuss, I will now entertain a motion and second to adjourn. Is there a motion?
Yes.
Dale Verkateren, second. Lois Jackson. All in favor of Calling a halt to the fall meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed? We're done, go home, go pack. Thank you.